that Ruger 1 was 1978 or 9 or something like that. Something like that. And it's a $1,300 gun without the scope.
Yeah. Yeah, and I only fit like 6 inches of the barrel up my butthole. So
And the barrel is only 5 inches, so.
you were definitely thumbing that trigger.
My hairs are in the way.
So I'm back.
Can't pull the trigger. Yeah.
I'm back.
So you want to fill in? I got COVID once, but Mister, let's upscale everything, and I got to outdo you.
I had the kidney stone. That was enough.
So let's tell everybody what happened.
This motherfucker's
What
like...
happened now? Oh, yeah.
This motherfucker's like Nostradamus. I hate this guy. I hate this fucking guy.
Okay.
So let's do a little history lesson. Let's do a little storytelling
I was just going to do that.
So about 4 or 5 months ago.
No. We're going to go further back with history. Now, let's go back to college. We'll go back to the college days. We'll go way back to history lesson. I remember being in the pool hall in college and me calling, you're going to end up having a kid with this broad.
Oh, God. I didn't want to go that far back, but all right, fine.
And it must have been like not even a year later.
This is like 2007.
Or no, before that, at Keymark, you're going to marry her.
Yep. Okay, so back years ago, we worked together, and this fucking guy decides, and I started dating my current wife. Started dating her. Busting balls. This fucking guy one day goes, yeah, gotta make sure my girlfriend this, that. Oh, you fucking watch. You're gonna end up marrying this broad one day. And of course, I'm 19, young, dumb, fucking working, partying. She didn't care what I did on the weekends. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Fast forward a bunch of years. We're at college together. And, my wife at the time, my girlfriend at the time, wife now, we're still together. And, this fucking brainiac one day goes, you watch, you've been with her this long, you're probably going to end up having kids with her someday. 2008, my first son was born with my wife, and we were married July of 2008. So that was...
It was a twofer in 1 year.
It was a twofer in 1 year. Your predictions came true. Or maybe I'm just that much of a people pleaser that I just can't... I don't feel good proving people wrong.
Well, I don't know what you just said, but okay.
No. Love my wife, love my kids. But, so fast forward a bunch more years. About 6 months ago, we're sitting here and, all of our unofficial sponsors, the energy drinks, the sodas, the teas, the juices. I'm sitting here.
Spring water.
Yeah, I'm the one who's sitting here day in, day out, drinking about a 12-pack, if not more, soda a day. I still had energy drinks occasionally. This fucking guy, literally right before podcast too, you ought to stop drinking those. You're going to give yourself a kidney stone one day.
I've done it. I've said things like that during show. This goes back way before. Oh. This goes back before the first iteration of the podcast.
Oh, during the commentaries.
Yeah, I would say not even that. Further than that, even before any recording at all.
Porch nights.
I'd make it like, man, watch kidney stones. Like, just in passing, I'd bring up kidney stones and all that bullshit. Yeah, but
finally, this fucker about 6 months ago makes a prediction. You're gonna get a kidney stone soon. You watch.
Yeah.
And then back in fucking December. Back in December, I had my kidney stone. You guys all remember that podcast. If not, please go back and watch. You guys will have a good one.
You don't
please don't.
Relive his torture.
Yeah, please. I don't.
Well, that might drive people to it. Yeah. So anyway,
we're seeing my misery. So what does this fucker do? This fucker, we get back from the kid. He had COVID. I had the kidney stone. We come back, and he's like, "Now that this is all done, you watch. You're gonna be the next one to get COVID. Just get it." No. Yeah. At first, you said just get it and get it over with.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna get it anyway, so you might as well just go out and get it done with.
That was after the show. He was on the way out the door. I said, I can't remember the context of the conversation. Something about Omicron. I was like, just hurry up, get it over with.
You're probably gonna get it anyway. You didn't make that comment.
You have the antibodies, and we'll be good to go. And
you're probably gonna get it anyway. Fucking so.
Was it 2 days later? Yeah, it was a Wednesday.
It was Sunday.
It was Monday.
We did the podcast Sunday night. No, Monday.
Oh yeah. You're right.
It was Sunday night. We did the podcast. Wednesday morning, about 1:50, I wake up and the world is just fucking literally going to town. My ass up, face down, ass up. Didn't even get a choice to. Didn't even get a chance to play the Ludacris song. Life is fucking me. I feel like shit. So I'm like, I'm not going to work. I'm calling out. And I got told, no, you need to go to work. And I'm like, well, I don't feel good. Well,
what?
During this whole discussion, I'm like, I'm not going to work. Going to work. I'm not going to work. Well, then you're going to get tested. I'm like, I just have the flu. So go get tested for the flu. Fine, I'll get tested for the flu. And I'll get tested for COVID. There you go. I'll get them both.
Yeah, I'll show you. Later.
About 4 hours later, actually. Rapid test my ass. I looking at my test results, and I got negative for influenza A, negative for influenza B, and positive for COVID. I'm like, I hate you. So what do I do? I fucking got him. I get home. I call him up, first person, haven't even told anybody, haven't told my job, haven't told my friends, haven't told my... No, I'm going to tell my family first. I call this fucker up and I go, can you do me a fucking favor? He goes, what? I'm like, can you predict something beneficial for me? This fucking guy, without beating an eyelash, not even skipping a breath, starts fucking laughing. I go, yeah. He goes, you got COVID. I'm like, I got fucking COVID. Fucking asshole. And then, of course, unlike your situation where your whole house had it, so you all quarantined at the same time. No, I'm the only one in my house.
Closet.
Yeah, I'm the only one in my fucking house who had the fucking thing. So naturally, I spent 5 fucking days chilling on my bed. Literally, I mean, honestly, we're all adults here. You know, I got lonely, so I enjoyed my company a little bit by myself. Cried for about 15 minutes after, and literally, I literally self-entertained myself once or twice, and I'm like, this is fucking boring. Like, I'm gonna play my video games. I played video games, and even I'm like, wow, I'm really kind of sad. I can't even do anything.
I remember I got a hold of him once, and I'm like, I think it was a Saturday, and I'm like, hey, you want to jump online? He's like, oh yeah, give me a minute, and then he calls me back or whatever it was.
Yeah,
me back. So Chris was pretty adamant about the
whole quarantine thing. And one day I snuck.
Like, you're locked in a room.
And one day I snuck out to jam with you online, and I ended up fucking fumigating the whole house with fucking Lysol. Made myself sick. But good news, folks. I am free and clear, clean and clear. I am out of the rain danger.
Yeah, and you need half the time.
Yeah, half the time. It
happened after the new guidelines.
Well, no, technically. Actually, as of right now, I'm technically sitting in front of you breaking the law because I am supposed to, even though by day 5 I was symptom free, which means because I'm an essential worker, I can go out and about, but I have to wear a mask.
Oh. So just do what I do. Well, you can't really.
Make out with you?
No, I have the mustache. I
can do it. My beard is longer.
I'm wearing
my beard is longer.
Where's your mask?
So no, I never lost my sense of smell or taste.
Oh, nice.
I literally no,
but you get the nausea end of it, which
that's what she for had. Like a day.
Yeah, but that's what she had.
And the only reason comes to find out, so Wednesday I was like, fever, body aches, not feeling good. By the end of the day, I pounded enough Dayquil. I started taking NyQuil. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling all right, a little achy, but nothing too bad. Thursday, golden. Friday was the day we jammed. Friday was the day we jammed. So I fumigated the house.
Oh yeah.
With the Lysol.
I'm thinking chill. Like,
and that's what made me sick because I'm hypersensitive.
Too much chemical.
No, I'm hypersensitive to bleach. Like I can smell it a mile away.
It's like a weird superpower.
Oh, it is. I can literally walk.
It's like Meg's ability to grow her fingernails. Like, what's your superpower?
I can.
Someone's got bleach.
I can literally walk like in my domicile arrangement. You know how it is. You walk up the stairs.
Right.
I can open the downstairs door. Oh, Oh, too much bleach. I sprayed one room. No, you didn't. You soaked the whole fucking house. I'm not stupid. And she
If
always
I open that door, I'm going to get hit with a wall of bleach.
She always admits, well, I did clean the whole house with the Lysol with bleach. I'm like, I fucking know. I told you. Well, without paying attention, I grabbed the first can, thinking it was like the dime store dollar brand. No, it was the Lysol bright yellow with bleach. And within 2 seconds of spray, like, I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna feel nauseous.
Like you walk right into the poom. And you're, oh.
Mustard gas.
He just knocked himself out.
I'm raping myself. No, but
what just happened?
So that was it. That was it. Other than that, I feel very blessed. I'm not religious. I feel very fortunate. Let me put it that way. I am very fortunate because we've discussed on previous podcasts. I have some very close connections, associates that I worked with, et cetera, who had lost their
they're
lives.
all roughed up.
Dude, well, the one guy passed, and then the other guy's wife passed, both vaccinated, et cetera, and they both passed away from COVID. So it's like, here I am, and then, I feel bad because it's like, fuck, man, we do make a little bit light of the subject. We try to enjoy ourselves as we talk about this reoccurring subject.
Sure.
But it's like you feel bad for their plight, and then you don't feel bad when it's me because here I am, like I've always said from the day one, like the flu kills people. There are people that suffer the flu that go through the worst case scenario. It's like, holy shit. But we don't beat nihilists. We haven't done multiple podcasts on the flu. Speaking of which, you hear the flu came back?
Did it?
It's because, who said it? I think our governor, New York governor said, well, it's because the flu only came back because people weren't wearing their masks according to the mandate.
Is it?
The flu was we almost eradicated the flu forever.
Are they going to switch to that narrative now?
I have no fucking clue.
Like,
sicknesses are going to come back because people are doing it in the butt and not wearing masks.
But it's good that you came, Barry. Got out of it good.
Oh, yeah.
A little roughed up for a day, but I think that's most people I talk to is.
But like,
I can't even say
the only reason it happened was because Tuesday we had that Sub-Zero day. It was the first cold day here in upstate New York where it was -4.
Where did you get it from, though?
I don't know.
See, that's my problem.
Wherever I got it from, it happened Tuesday. Right. Because my body, being a trucker, I've had to be active on preventative health care.
Well, what they said, a 48-hour span prior to the first symptoms is probably when you contracted it, so it would be that Monday or Tuesday.
Well, here's the thing, though. It could have been Sunday or Saturday because, so I have a way, I know during the cold season, the cold weather, not cold season, like, not that shit. During the cold weather, I get this thing in my throat where, you'd be like, you have to clear that phlegm.
Dry.
Not even so much dry, but you may feel that little bit of phlegm build up, so you want to clear your throat. I'll feel that. Now, on a dry, cold day, if I get that feeling, clear my throat a few times, by the end of the day, if I feel fine, like I don't have that anymore, I'm not worried about it. But if the next day it's back again, it's like, I should probably drink some orange juice or take some vitamins.
Can you will yourself to not be sick?
Yes.
All right. I think that's a lot of people can do that. And they don't realize it. I think a lot of people, when they start, like sickness come, and this goes along with a thing when you're in college or something, you're going, and as soon as you're on break, boom, you get hit with a nasty cold. Because during that whole time, you're like, I don't have time to be sick. I think it's an innate ability for anybody to feel something come on and be like, no. Just focus on not bringing, or at least mitigate. Now, clearly, it's not like the superpower, like, I'm not sick. But I think
you could be like Deadpool. I have cancer, not anymore.
I think there's a real thing there where you can actually push something off just by like really focusing on it. Maybe that's a mystic. I have crystals in my room.
No, I think everybody
my mood ring says otherwise.
I think every person has somewhat of an ability to will themselves better.
Right.
Some people where I can sit there and feel cold coming on, I'm not getting sick. The next day I feel just fine.
Right.
Then, like this instance, ever since I got Lyme disease, it's been harder for me. And that's where this whole discussion's going. This whole point of the story. By day 2, all right, time to start supplementing my health. Let me get some vitamin C, take an extra multivitamin or whatever, eat a little bit healthier, drink a little bit more water.
Right.
And 99% of the time, I won't get sick.
Right. Now imagine if you did that all the time.
I know. But fuck you. God, predict something else. Might as well. Fuck, gonna come true.
You will win the lottery and give me a third. Man, I've never really predicted anything that way, so it probably won't come true.
No, you got to make it in joking sense. You got to.
And it has to be in passing. Like
no, it has to be something in subject at hand. Mm-hmm. And it has to be a joking in passing,
tongue in cheek, because it's always tongue in cheek.
That's the only way it's going to come
thought
true.
About twice.
We got to sit here talking about winning the lottery or something.
Even like all that stuff, the Flurona thing, all that kind of shit always happens, and it's always tongue in cheek, not thought about, just kind of falls out of my mouth. God. And then next thing you know, within a day or a week or whatever, it's like, hey,
But like, so come Monday, I was like, all right, better time to start supplementing it. So I started Tuesday. Felt great Tuesday morning. I, honest to God, felt great. That's why I champed out Tuesday the way I did. Right. My day started at 4:30 in the morning. By the time it got above zero, it was like 1:30, almost 2 o'clock. That's when I was finally in my truck staying warm.
Right.
All morning I was in and out, -4, -5, -2, -4. You know, here I am, dressed like I am now. T-shirt, a muscle shirt, a T-shirt, and a hoodie, and a hat, and my jeans. That's it. You know, and I'm champing it out like nothing. Get home Tuesday, I felt tired. I'm like, oh, the cold zapped me. That's what it is. And then Wednesday morning, boom. Right. So I could have literally gotten it. I could have picked it up, if you ask me, I could have picked it up anywhere between Saturday and Tuesday night.
Right.
So anybody could have had it, asymptomatic. You know, people can have it and not show a single symptom. Mm-hmm. One of my deliveries, one of my regular customers, one of my, I stopped at the gas station to grab a cup of coffee. Could have been any one of those customers in passing.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, it is a fun time. It's a very fucking fun time. Oh,
fun time. Fun time to discuss it.
But yeah,
you got to be careful on how you discuss it. You can't downplay it too much and everything, and because, like you said, people die.
Well, what are you gonna get next?
Banned from TikTok.
Yes,
and that's the segue to the next topic.
Oh my god.
So
now, did they ever tell you? Yes, this is a fun one. But really quick, did they ever tell you?
No.
Fucking Sally, sad sack, Karen.
I logged on. I've been putting small clips of this show on TikTok, which drives more people to YouTube. So perfect.
Yeah.
And some of the clips have taken off. Which has been
speaking
great.
of which, because whatever got you reported, I'm gonna make a quick TikTok video so I can put it on my TikTok, and we can get this shit going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So hey, what?
So
that's porn. No, I don't want to talk about that. No, I'm just kidding. It's not porn. Here we go.
So I log on to TikTok and I go to upload something and I click on the icon and it brings up, it says you've been banned. I'm like, what? There's no rhyme or reason or anything. I'm like, okay, what the hell? And it says, so I quick look up, I'm like, reasons to get banned from TikTok, because there's no rhyme or reason. And it says if you've been flagged for multiple offenses according to community guidelines. What are you doing?
Trying to figure out. Maybe it's about time I learn how to use TikTok appropriately.
So I'm looking at it, and it says if you've been flagged multiple times for some what's the word I'm looking for?
If you've been reported, or if enough offenses happen, what happens?
If you got strikes or whatever against their community guidelines. So I'm like, okay. So I read through thoroughly their community guidelines about hate speech and this and that. I'm like, so what the fuck is the problem? So and it said you can appeal. I'm like, okay. So I write them an email or what have you, and I send them a copy of their community guidelines. Oh. And I said, I'm appealing this because we are literally, this channel is a channel where I take clips of a podcast that discuss current events and then comments on them. I go, where is the offense here? And about an hour later, they got back to me and they said, sorry for the confusion or what have you. And they reinstated the channel. No idea why. I had never gotten any red flags for anything at the time. After I sent the email, though, I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I bet you I know exactly where this came from. There is a channel on TikTok, and it's a guy, very extremist, left-leaning guy. For whatever reason, he's in my algorithm. So every now and again, I turn it on to go check something or go upload something, and he's there. He's always live, constantly live. I always like, does this guy have a job? Any time of day, he's live. And he'll be spitting off like things about mandates and this and that, and like, well, the CDC says. So to counter that, because most of the people he brings in to argue him is people that, like I've said before, they have an argument for something, but they don't know how to articulate it, or they're like, this isn't right, but I've got no facts in front of me to say otherwise. I do. And from doing the show a lot and a lot of articles I've read, and just, CDC and justice.gov and all these other things, and New York State, DOH, like I have factual information and I can easily cite it. So I'll throw things down in his feed and cite it. And I've been blocked off his chat before because he's like, no, because of this. And I said, well, according to New York State DOH, they do this.
Yes.
And I've told you about that.
Yes.
He's blocked me off his live chat or live stream or whatever. And he made this video comparing, or he's saying you anti-vaxxers or something are comparing the mandates to the Holocaust. And then he says, here is he brings up a picture of, it's a wall with scratches in it. He goes, oh, this is, doesn't seem like anything. It just looks like a blackboard with chalk or something on it. And he said, these are scratches in a wall from gas chambers. And then he makes a comparison of mask mandates to gas chambers. And he says there is no comparison here, basically. This is a Cliff Notes version. And I agreed with him. I said, no, there is no. And I've always thought that was a really poor argument, too. Like, well, the mask mandates, I was like, that's a horrible, horrible comparison. I understand where people on the one side are coming from. It's like, that's a shit comparison, though. So I couldn't stop myself, but I made a comment. I said, I go, that is a horrible comparison. Like comparing mandates to gas chambers and the eradication of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust.
Oh, yeah.
I go, what a horrible comparison. It's kind of like if someone compared January 6th to Pearl Harbor or 9/11. Am I right, guys? And I left it at that. A day later, I got banned.
Yep.
I'm guessing that a lot of his keyboard army came in and flagged my channel for saying that shit.
That's about usually the way it works.
That's probably what it was. But that just kind of made my day. I'm like, I had to chuckle. I'm like, so what did I offend? And then they just gave it back to me.
Yeah.
It's like,
you sent me the thing when
I put it on group chat. I'm like, look, I got banned. It's a badge of honor. But that leads me into the next thing, just banning in general, and how there's not a lot of clear guidelines, because people are getting flagged in YouTube channels, like big names, small names. For Steve Crowder, is the first one I have here, got a strike on his YouTube channel. He's a big YouTuber. I don't know if you know what Steve Crowder is.
Yeah.
Big YouTuber, for simply citing the CDC. He cited CDC information and got a strike on it and lost his channel for a week or a month or whatever. There's things that Joe Rogan and maybe Ben Shapiro or Tim Pool or all these other people have said and cited. They've said the same thing Dr. Fauci has, maybe beforehand, and then Dr. Fauci comes and gotten like warnings or strikes or bans or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then Fauci comes out a week or a month later, says the exact same thing, and suddenly now it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, the rules are clearly different for different people, and that's a problem.
It's all the narrative.
It's not even narrative. It's just...
No.
I guess, yeah.
Their narrative is, if it comes from them in a positively constructive manner that supports their agenda,
right,
it's okay. But if we sit here and say, well, Fauci said A, B, C, D, E... Now, how does that apply to us? And negatively, now we're taking their positive narrative to propagate their agenda, using it in a negative manner to propagate our agenda, which is counterproductive to their goal.
Right.
Now, and because we're nobodies, compared to Fauci, Tim Pool, Charlie Kirk,
that's the thing
Ben
too.
Shapiro, we're nothing compared to these people. Joe Rogan.
Well, our channel would easily be taken down.
Oh, yeah.
Because it wouldn't affect anything. It wouldn't affect ad revenue. It wouldn't affect traffic. But now, if you take down...
Like Joe Rogan.
Well, he just left and went to Spotify, and actually
what I'm
worked
saying-
out better for him. But if you take on one of those bigger channels, well, they can say it because if you take them down,
Let's go way back. Howard Stern. What happened to AM FM radio when he left? It hurt.
I think that's a
But that's a
dual
classic
thing.
It's a classic example, though. When-
Yeah,
if you
he
take down
left-
a media mogul giant like that,
I mean, how many times has 103.5 changed format since he left? I mean, that was always, for the longest time, alternative. It was rock
Yep.
and alternative metal and new metal. And then he
there's some
left.
punk, some pop.
You remember when he first left, they shifted to, like, classic rock.
Yeah.
Like,
And they still do.
Which classic rock is fine, but when you go from playing Slipknot and Static X
Middle
and
of the
Kitty
day. Yep.
to a day later playing
Literally was
Rush.
the next day. Rush.
And again, I love classics, but when you went from like one thing on public radio or syndicated radio, and then all of a sudden you're shifting like that, you're like, whoa. Like,
oh, yeah.
What are you doing?
The impact of one person. And that's the best example. Because nowadays, unfortunately, I mean, like you just said, you can't shut someone down who has that big of, I guess, a grip.
Right.
Their claws that deep in the social media system.
Right.
You can't take someone down like that because it's all about ad revenue. But back then, when they were still learning about ad revenue and such, that's where the Howard Stern example comes in. Howard Stern, shout out, love that guy.
The second thing with that is I think radio is dying anyway. And I think Howard understood that.
I don't think so. I don't
It's
think
nowhere near as much
No.
because there's streaming and
Oh yeah,
there's
but guess what? You can now streamline radio.
but yeah, they jumped on board and smart.
So that's what I'm saying. Like radio will never die. It'll always be one of those last facets that we always will have.
It'll be the underground thing that's like always. It's kind of like Nintendo. Everyone still has a Nintendo somewhere.
Yep.
Like there's all these new systems that'll die out, but Nintendo still dusted off. It's a little pearl
Sega.
colored now, and it's still going strong.
Fuck. I still have a Coleco. I still have an Atari.
No, you don't. I got it. You gave. Oh no, you gave me the 7200.
I gave you the Atari
Yeah.
7200. I give you that. I still have those systems. You can dust them out.
Yeah, but they still work.
Exactly.
But yeah, just the fact that you certain people can say certain things at certain times, even
Oh,
though if it's 100% factual information. The biggest one, like I said, was Steve Crowder. He cited CDC and got a strike. Like, how? What? How does that work? I don't know. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Part of me thinks it's just bots looking for catchphrases or like key terms and stuff. And they're like, oh nope.
This is a fun one because this is something I've always talked about for a long. This is something I've always been afraid of. I've always been aware of, not afraid of. Always been aware ever since. Let's go way back. Dial-up, AOL Instant Messenger. Okay, let's go way back to those days. Even chain emails before AOL Instant Messenger. Emails, digital emails to your friends when marketing became a thing and you started getting spam emails. Bots. Bots have always been there. Always been there. But
Right.
now, developers, like you were saying earlier about with your situation, about the bot, like, you know, with the keyboard army, you were talking about how you had found out that there were bots people were having conversations with.
I can't remember where I might have said. I can't remember where, but
I can't remember
it
in
was
what context we were discussing it.
10 or 19 out of the 20 top Christian Facebook
Yes.
pages are run by Russian farm bots.
Yes.
What the fuck? And so when you get in online, any platform, and you get into an argument with someone, there is a good chance
It's a 50-50.
that you're arguing a
With a
bot.
bot. Who
Because
is-
there is a Reddit page that has this forum, and it's an argument, and the entire argument is between bots. And if you read it, you would have no fucking idea.
Nope.
No idea.
And that's how advanced like the programming has gotten behind these things.
Because all it does is it incites emotional reaction, which we've said before. Most news that's on there now, whether it's tabloids or print or TV, most of the news, the headlines are just attention grabbers. It's put there to incite emotional reaction for you to go, what the fuck?
Now everything social media wise is based off algorithms now.
Right.
Algorithms for a general appeal for audience, your TikTok, your Facebook pages. Everything is based off an algorithm on what
Which
you
is
search.
why I think that one TikToker is always in my feed. because most of the shit, most of the shit we put out now is geared toward the left, at least criticizing, because that's who's in power. Like, part of me cannot wait until the right is in power so we can be like, all right, what the fuck are they doing now?
Yeah.
Because it'll get some of the left. It's like, you're anti this. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, we were in EMT class. How many fucking vaccines did we had to go? Boom, boom, boom. Come back in a couple weeks. Boom. All right, come back in 6 months. Boom again.
Yep.
Like, I'm not anti-vax at all.
We had to take a fucking slew of fucking shots to get into the EMT course because of what we were going to be exposed
Not
to.
anti-vax. I'm just anti-bullshit information.
Yeah. So, but that's where it's like these algorithms, they literally will see, like, if you started a forum chat right now on Discord and said, hey, this is all about Nintendo. I just want to talk about Nintendo. Any Nintendo fans out there? There's already someone looking at that forum saying, all right, programming a bot, throwing it in there as a Discord member in that chat forum, and now, well, yeah, the Nintendo era was good, but I prefer the Sega Genesis phase. Well, now we've got discussions. Now people are like, well, yeah, Sega was good, but it was kind of like a da-da-da. And now that bot will sit there and take fucking what has been said and generate a response.
Or sometimes it doesn't even do that. It just puts in a random response. If you read some of them, an opinion will come out, and then this other handle will just pop in and said, well, are you a bad parent as well for choosing? Well, some random, just to incite, you're like, what? And then you get sucked into that rabbit hole, which is that's more of a black hole.
Yeah.
Because you're arguing nobody. You're literally arguing nobody.
And there's corn in it. I've been in that hole before.
Oh, magic school bus, huh?
Speaking, really quick side note, speaking of Magic School Bus, I don't know why it popped up on my TikTok feed, my TikTok video. It was what was the teacher's name?
I don't know.
Redhead.
I know what
Mrs.
I can't remember.
So and so, whatever. Well, I didn't realize what it was at first until the end of the TikTok video. So I was doing the video of Mrs. So-and-so from Magic School Bus XXX, and I'm like, wait, what? But apparently I had a mishap, and the scene ended early, and it shows the ground, and there's like a giant puddle and splashes and water stains everywhere. I'm like, fuck. Swipe, shit. Now I'm stuck with that. Now I'm going to get Magic School Bus pouring fucking TikTok videos on my goddamn phone. Great.
That'll take a week to get rid of.
Fucking algorithm.
The Australian absorption actually isn't true.
No. I had to look that up.
Yeah. So I figured when I heard, like I said, when you brought it up, I hadn't heard anything. Or no, I did hear about it, but there was
absolvement.
Yeah, there was no like anything news-wise.
She said absorption. I'm like, absorption?
Yeah, it absorbs itself.
Well, that's why at first I'm like,
it turned itself inside out.
Wait, what? It took me. Worst part is I'm like, oh yeah, I had to look that over for myself.
Yeah, where'd they go?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. The absolvement. So on a previous podcast we discussed about how there was news, the social media online, nothing ever official news facet wise was displaying this headline about how the Australian people had put forth the paperwork to absolve its own government because of how ludicrous and crazy things were getting. Now, the reason I had to look it up, like I said, and you're right, it was bogus. But sad but true, man. I mean, how crazy, like as crazy as shit was getting, it was very in the realm of possible to be believable.
Well, on the spot just thought, there might have been something like a petition that some groups started in Australia that was very much a real thing. Be like, we want to do this, but it just didn't.
We needed enough signatures.
Yeah, it didn't get enough traction. Not even signatures. It didn't get enough traction to do really anything.
Yeah.
Like, so that might have been the case, and it just somebody in America, because we are so great at just latching on emotionally to news articles. We're so great at it. Someone probably got a hold of me like, they're doing what? And here it is, a TikTok video with 2 or 3 million views, and then it ends up on the show being discussed. So there's a danger right there of getting your news from social media. Yeah, especially TikTok. There's, like I said, there's like 90% of the stuff comes across there is either skewed or it's a complete bullshit. So you got to be careful.
So real quick, are we ever gonna like cross that threshold where we bring in like callers and stuff like that?
I don't know about callers because we'd have to get big enough to where I get a producer, like Poole as a producer.
Yeah, we're
the
sitting
one
here.
thing I've thought about, which is Tim Poole's his method of doing things, where he has super chats and we actually live stream it at specific times, but then we'd have to be on time.
Yeah.
So then everybody knows when to tune in.
Yeah,
like it would have like we normally. I mean, today is different.
We do our plan
normally
spontaneously.
It's about 8:00, 8:30. We'll start and we'll shoot from there.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, it has to be on time. Like, has to be rigid.
It almost has to be to the point where, like, hey, all right, so this concludes our podcast. You know, join us again Sunday night at 9.
Right.
And where we put a deadline on this thing.
And then, like, it'd be like, okay, so during the whole thing, they do super chats, which would be a great way to add revenue to the thing. Aside from that, like, calling in, again, you'd have to have like, it would have to be on time. You'd have to do this. Like, right now, it's just like, okay, we got free time. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, which is great. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing, is there'd have to be an absolute set schedule.
Just because about a handful of the people that I've gotten into watching our podcast and stuff, they're like, oh man, I'd love to call in one of these times, just chime in some information, see what you guys think.
Every now and again too.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, just because I know the scheduling, like, it's like, it would have to be a set thing, and
we roll too, dude. We roll. We don't stop.
No,
like, we'll get going we'll stay boop, into the next topic. So,
but yeah, the two big things is schedule, and I need a producer, because I can't sit here then worry about that, patching people in, taking calls. Hold on, they're almost done with this. You need a third person to do
maybe
that.
It's just out of chance, but I've been seeing a lot of TikTok videos where there's people producing their own material. Maybe we can get one of them to produce for us.
That's right.
Halfway through the show, God damn it. Sorry. Did you eat asparagus?
I don't even know how to respond to that, but yeah. So that apparently is bullshit.
Not every girl can squirt. That's how you respond to that.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Microsoft buying Activision.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm glad you.
$68.7 billion.
A billion
with a B. Billion,
yeah, billion
dollars. And it has something to do with the metaverse, apparently. Which, again, when we first started talking, when I first brought up the metaverse, I'm like, this could be a fad, but we'll bring it up. It'd be interesting. But the more we talk about it, the more I end up reading about it.
I think we're almost helping fuel the fire at this point.
And learning. The metaverse is gaming for gamers and then everybody else, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's really the next
Anybody
step.
ever seen the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler? They call it Society.
Yeah.
That's where we're heading.
Yeah, the Microsoft Core is buying Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion in the biggest gaming industry deal in the history as global technology giant stakes their claims to a virtual future.
So my thing about that is I don't support the decision to do it, to sell to Microsoft. If they had sold to anyone else, and I'm not talking about just Microsoft, we'll go the three. We'll go the big three. Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft are the big three. They should never be able to monopolize or buy a major gaming company like that. They have enough of their own. The only reason, let's get it aside. We're going to back burner the metaverse real quick. Someone like Microsoft gets their hands on Activision Blizzard. You're talking a lot of titles exclusively for each system. Mm-hmm. Is Microsoft going to start pulling a Disney now, and a lot of stuff now is no longer going to be facet for or pipelined to these other? Like, are they going to step in and say, "All right, Activision, you can no longer make exclusives for Sony"?
No.
Or Nintendo.
And I'll tell you why.
I hope not. That's my biggest fear, dude. Monopolize the market, dude.
One is a lot of games are becoming cross-platform now. And these big companies know that. And these big companies also know that different people have different systems. And sub-genre or subsections of those people are exclusive to those. Like, there are people that I will never stray from Sony. There are people that I'll never stray from Xbox and what have you.
And Nintendo.
That's why cross-platform is more and more becoming a thing with more and more games. It's like, well, this way people will be able to just play whatever they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
With anybody, any of their friends, no matter what system they have.
Oh, yeah, dude. We were there for the birth of it.
Yeah. And then there's the metaverse thing, where this, which they were talking about, the Microsoft, this is basically says it also represents American multinationals' bet on the metaverse, virtual online worlds where people can work, play, and socialize. This, I think, the metaverse is also going to be something where it doesn't matter where you're playing from or how you're logging in. Like if I have an Apple or a Mac and you have a Dell
PC
or something,
Dell, yeah.
anything,
Or same thing.
yeah, we're going to be able to log into the same thing. We're going to be able to go there. So I think this is more of Microsoft knows the track record of Activision Blizzard.
Very successful track record.
And they're like, okay, you guys know how to do this programming. You guys, we're going to put our chips on you. You help us design this metaverse to make it appealing for all the people that are like, is this a fad? Is this not? So when something like this comes out, one, it's great ammo for them, for PR, and for people like me, be like, okay, maybe they're like really putting their, going behind this all in. And then
for
two,
almost $70 billion. That's going to raise a few eyebrows no matter what you're in.
Do you realize that? I mean, I know the gaming industry is huge, but do you realize Disney bought Star Wars for like 4.2 billion or 4.4 billion, and they bought Activision 10 years later for almost $70 billion? There's
two things to think about with that statement right there. A, is Microsoft the kind of sleeping giant that nobody saw coming?
No.
That they can afford. Well, no, Microsoft has always been on the forefront of technology, computers, printers, PCs.
Microsoft is a monster.
Phones, video games. It is a monster.
A kaiju, have you?
But never have you ever seen anything like of this magnitude come out of anybody. Not even Disney. Disney, like you just said, bought Star Wars for
they bought Fox. That would be the closest thing. I don't even think it was 70 billion. Oh, no, I think it was. It was like 60 or 75 billion. So it was another huge. But
it was Disney, and everybody already knew about Disney's like. I'm not saying they're trying to monopolize the entertainment industry, but everyone knew the level. So Grand Theft Auto Online. When you walk into the casino, you go to the cheap tables or you go to the VIP table. Disney was one of those people you saw playing at the VIP table.
Right.
You knew they had that caliber of play. Microsoft, you'd see like a Microsoft at the low-level chip table, and you might see a Microsoft in the back corner of the VIP table. But you never really saw them acting too much. You saw Disney throwing down chips every time there was a new hand.
It's like Microsoft was me and you in like GTA. When I would log on and be like, I got a new car. And you're like, what the hell? How much money do you have?
Yeah.
For the longest time, like, how much money do you have? Like, I grind. I'd have a new Super or something. What the hell?
But I'd
never say how much cash I had up until maybe recently.
And this is
you have like 10 million left.
This is Microsoft doing a Disney. We'll call it pulling a Disney. They literally goes, this is literally what they did. That's how much money we actually have.
Right.
What the fuck? So now you're like, whoa, yeah, motherfuckers were grinding. Now, that being said, the other thing to take from that comment right there. What is that? That alone right there is a good clear-cut statement as to how this metaverse, digital frontier, if you want to go Tron, how fast this is advancing and how real of a future this is for us. Because 10 years ago, when Disney bought Star Wars, or however long it was, $4.4 billion to now the largest video game purchase in history of almost $70 billion, that shows you alone how fast and growing and how lucrative this market has become, where a company has been able to turn their profit 1,000 times over and make that money to be able to go, yeah, screw it, let's buy it.
And there's comedy clubs already in the metaverse. Like,
I'm gonna have to look into this. I have yet to literally see the metaverse physically. I've read a lot of articles and I've seen still shots.
Yeah,
but I've never actively interacted with.
Neither have I. I just reading a lot. I was explaining the metaverse to Kim, and it's my old boss from the fitness center. But I was explaining it.
He
to
was
her.
all about fitness. Fitting this dick in her mouth.
You can't say that.
Sorry. Fitting this flaccid. Wait.
Anyway, so I was up there and I was explaining this thing to her.
Felicio's
and
Gotta keep talking. I'm trying to think of the words.
The whole time I'm explaining it to her, I found myself actually like hyping it up like a hype train. And actually,
oh yeah, you told me about that.
As I'm doing it, I'm like, I'm selling this, and I know nothing about it. Like, it's a weird. So, as I was doing that, I'm like, this thing, if the rest of society kind of latches onto it the way I am, unknowing, like this thing's gonna take off.
All
huge.
jokes aside, what would you call your penis? A flaccid, or that's soft, right? Now I'm kind of curious. I can educate myself really quick. What would it called?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Let's have the medical terminology for penis. What is it? Like your phalanges.
I'm done.
Those are your fingers,
I'm
right?
done with you.
Leave my ADD. Leave my attention.
You don't even know what you have. Oh, Jesus.
You looked it up?
No, I'm on to the next point.
All right. No, but yeah. So hyping it up for real though. Oh yeah, no, dude. And even I've gotten a few people that I go, well, what? Is it a video game? And here I am going. Basically, it's like a video game for people that like want to play something but don't. Like if you look at your phone, Gardenescape, RuneScape, they got all kinds of flash games you can play on your cell phones now that a lot of people won't call video games. Right. They're time wasters, they call them. Well, that's what this is basically.
Angry Birds. And,
yeah.
I mean, technically, though, isn't that every video game?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no...
But people have this... what's the word I'm thinking of? They have this...
Absence?
No.
This void somewhere?
They have this definition of what a video game actually is. And that's something you put into a system...
Where'd he go?
That's something you put into it's a disc or a
For
cartridge.
everybody listening, I just disappeared and reappeared.
If it's a physical object you put into a console and play.
Right.
It's not something you could play on your watch or on your phone while you're waiting at the grocery store, getting a finger in your butt at the proctologist exam. It's not something that's not a video game.
I played Baseball 9 during that. Home run!
That was before the game loaded up.
Yeah. See, right down the middle.
Right up Main Street. 3, 2, stupid.
And back up the middle. Anyway. Yeah, but I found myself like selling it like a walking billboard. Going on with that, I was talking about how soon we got Neuralink coming out next fall.
Elon Musk.
And then you'll be able to actually induce like actual feeling in it, kind of like Ready Player One. And I guess technically the gamer, even though that was more of like a puppeteer kind of thing. But have you ever heard of the thing Orgasmatron? That was from the 50s.
Two things. One, the medical term for the head of the penis is called the glans. And Orgasmatron?
So I'm looking for another host. If anyone is free.
Wait,
let me. All right, before
please, because all I'm thinking of is like a 1950s.
It was called air quotes Orgasmatron.
All I'm thinking of is like the creature from the Black Lagoon or something like that, or the fucking kaiju monster from the fucking Godzilla series.
There was a neurologist, or he wanted to come up with an alternative to
sex
lobotomy.
Oh, okay.
So what he did was take dental drills and actually drilled holes in the back of someone's skull and then put nodes in there. This was for people that had like severe anxiety or depression or just constant anger issues.
Which
or something
back then you just got slapped in the back of the head and said, "Don't be a pussy anymore."
Here's the thing. So the patient had a button to press every time they felt anxious or something. They press the button and induce a current, which would. This is where it gets like what?
I like where this is going.
It was a girl. It'd make her climax every time she hit the button. Side effect: she developed an addiction, for lack of a better term. She'd hit it. So
you're saying if I press
1,500 times in 3 hours. She developed ulcers on her thumb. She also tried to tamper with the machine to increase the voltage to up the effect.
So you're saying if I press this little red button, an explosion will happen? I found it. I'm the world's greatest detective.
Really seals in the flavor.
I was fighting.
No, we can't be serious.
I was fighting crime. I was fighting crime in a rubber suit for the whole day. It really sealed. So, well, on a side note, did you realize?
And in an order that would surprise you.
Smell that. So the old stigma about the witch's broom. I don't know if I talked about this on a previous podcast.
Yeah, you did. You told me. That was the intro of the last. That's actually the last thing I put up.
You know, women use broom handles for dildos. Get an extra grip.
Going back for the Orgasmatron thing.
Orgasmatron. Oh my.
Going
God.
back to the metaverse. You realize because we'll be able to induce. This is in the 50s. We'll be able to induce feeling with Neuralink, possibly. So if you meet someone, you could actually feel them in the metaverse. You could actually feel picking something up. I saw a video where someone was in a virtual reality setting, and the clip of it was me in the metaverse, and it was a girl sitting on a lawn chair. And she was
yes,
it like touches her boobs and then grabs her,
whips her over the ledge.
The first thing I thought was like, "Fuck, that's me or Charlie."
What are you talking about? That was me in the video.
Like
you were the girl.
Takes her like very slowly, caresses down her legs,
squeezes the boobs and everything.
Grabs her ankles, spins, and then chucks her off a building, and then waves by.
Yeah, you hear someone in the background. Yeet.
Normally I don't laugh hard during like TikTok things or something, but that one I cracked up. I was like, yeah, that's about it.
You've seen the movie Gamer, right?
Right.
All right. Do you remember that part in the society where the girl is there and they're like being controlled? And Terry Crews, this character, ends up killing the one dude in the elevator. Do you remember that scene? So before they get to the elevator, there's this scene where these two people are being...
The last time I saw that was way back, I think.
The girl is in her role in society. She's being controlled by some fucking 300-pound greasy kid.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there's at the bar where they're meeting the other players, there's a guy comes up, starts just like humping her. In the elevator, and then Terry Crews kills the guy. That's all I can. I can't wait for that.
All right. So and that's the thing. It's the idea. The idea of the metaverse,
being able to hump somebody in public and spank them and not get arrested.
This utopian thing is like you'll be able to go anywhere, do anything. You'll be able to be an astronaut. You'll be able to be an engineer. You'll be able to go skydiving, climb Mount Everest. But any gamer out there knows that you could climb Mount Everest. Why the fuck would I want to do that? Like, hey, you, boom, right in a woman's face or something. Or like the video, like just whip someone off a building. Like we do when we play GTA. Race it to the bottom, and we go to the very top of something, and we just bolt to the ground. Who can hit first? It's not going to be like, I could be a Hollywood star.
Now, with this Neuralink, though, when does the metaverse start to really shoot itself in the foot? Because if you can feel these things, what's to say my character doesn't come up from behind you and go, race you to the finish? Now you're going to feel this while you're sitting in your chair. Oh, God, it's in my ass.
And that's where the Matrix thing comes in. Because everything that happened in the Matrix, they could feel it, or that would affect them in real life, because your mind doesn't know the difference. Nope. So they'd get hit in the Matrix.
Speaking of which, did you see the new Matrix?
No, I almost watched it. I actually rewatched the first one the other night, just because I haven't seen this in like 20-some years.
Yeah. So. Be prepared to be disappointed in a good way, though.
I always go into movies with low expectations, because every time I get
You're not going to be disappointed then.
Super hyped, I go in, I'm like, well, I have it set for like this is going to be 11 out of 10 or 11 out of whatever. And then I go in, I'm like, well, it was a 7. So
set your expectations really low. You won't be disappointed. It's got some good moments. That's the
approach to life.
Then there's the Matrix aspect of it, and it's like, this is kind of cool, it's kind of cliche, kind of niche genre. But then there's the digs on society as a whole.
Should I watch all of them again before?
No.
All right.
So
the first one, that's fine, because I don't want to watch.
Put it to you this way: I could do it without spoiling too much. Neil Patrick Harris is in it. Fucking awesome. I love Neil Patrick Harris. My man. NPH. Fuck you. Doogie House was awesome.
Get on with it.
So there's a point where he's saying to Neo, about how this matrix will never fail because people are so glued and dependent on the technology aspect of it, on how it connects everybody, that they don't want any better. There is nothing better. The real life pales in comparison.
Right.
And it made me laugh. I'm like, oh, that's a dig on Society today.
Yeah, exactly.
This matrix will work.
Yeah.
Here I was doing a TikTok video during this fucking podcast.
Isn't that a perfect example? Not even an analogy, just an example.
It's a movie inside of it's a Matrix program. It's a movie. It's a world within a movie.
What is it?
It's a movie about control of a world of control in a movie where they mock the control and the connection that we've now become dependent on with technology and how it'll never fail. And
I will green screen a chalkboard and we'll write this equation out in post.
Please figure something out.
I said something. I don't know what.
There's a lot of.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Sorry.
But it was Activision. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, Activision. But the metaverse. I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I mean,
Of course, I think everybody is of all different ages. I think clearly our age group, the 18 to 49 or whatever it is, that demographic.
Our millennial era, our millennial generation, because I don't care what anybody says, there was a couple of generations within that millennial era. There's a couple decades where kids are being born mid to late 80s, into the 90s, into the early 2000s, where they're all basically, there's millennials and there's new millennials. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
you know, well, when the term millennial first came out, all these soft millennials, we were like, we're not millennials, we're not soft. We had that old school upbringing. We're fucking.
Every generation that's the next generation is softer than the previous generation. Up until I think this coming generation, because the way things are going, shit's going to go south. And these people are going to have to adapt to garbage.
Well, that's
the same way
though.
they did in the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Tough times bred tough people.
Yep.
Tough people bred easy times. Easy times bred weak people. Weak people bred tough times.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle.
And yeah, so I think we're going in, maybe not, but I think we're going into that like shit times.
I think we've got another generation or two before we start to see a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's what I mean. Like we're in shit times right now. And the next generation
I
coming
don't know
up.
if the next gen's going to fix it, though. I think the next gen's just kind of... It's like when you get...
The next generation coming up, the younger, like, it's... I don't have the numbers, but there's numbers where there's more people now of younger kids gearing away from this woke thing.
Yeah.
Which are like, this is
But
school kids being like, this is kind of bullshit.
But they're the generation that's going to be like, all right, look, we're not going to pay attention. Just because you don't pay attention to a problem doesn't mean it doesn't exist anymore.
I don't think they're not paying attention to it. I think they're very much paying attention to it. I think there's certain things that they're going, all right, this is acceptable, trans and stuff like that. But then there's other things like I identify with this, which
Potential
isn't so much,
spam.
which isn't so much
Do
acceptable.
I answer this?
If we could patch it in, I'd say. And then you can put on hold. I'm like,
Look you. Even they know. Oh, fuck, he's in a podcast. We better not spam him.
I like how you answer their call and then they immediately put you on hold.
I need to know.
Anyway.
I hope. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. I think it's going to be the generation coming up now is going to be, look, we do have a lot of problems in the world, but we got to start getting our ducks in a row. And they're not going to fix the problems, but they're not going to make them go away either.
No.
And I think it'll be the generation after that where it's like, all right, these are starting to fucking, everything you guys are doing is based off all this shit that you were going through. Well, now that doesn't work anymore. So let's take care of those problems and start coming up with better solutions.
Right. I'll skip this. I got one point, but I'm going to skip that because this goes into what we're talking about. There's a substitute teacher fired for not addressing a student who identified as a cat. This is a real fucking thing. I didn't believe it at first, but it's a real fucking thing.
This must be new. I don't remember this in the list.
I just found it last night.
Yeah, you had
I got home from work. It was like 11:30 last night, and I was like, what? A A substitute teacher got fired because she didn't address a student who identified as a cat. Apparently, the story goes she was in school taking attendance, goes down the row, and she heard a kid go meow. And she's like, why? Okay, what's this? And he goes meow again. Then she goes somewhere along the lines of like, why are you meowing? And one of the other students, like, you have to meow back because he identifies as a cat. And she's like, I'm not going to do this. So she just kind of blew it off, whatever, kids being kids. Later that day, I guess she went to the office to pick something up or go through some kind of a schedule or something, and got told by the people, by, I don't know, superintendent, whoever it was, got told that her services were no longer needed and got let go.
We have a problem.
What are you talking about? Oh, when she I think she sent the kid to the office, and then on his way out, she went woof woof or something like that, like just tongue in cheek. I guess that was offensive. So this is what I mean. There's certain things where kids, the younger generation now, go, okay, this is fine, but then this is not even a little. This is just completely insane. Like, completely insane.
Please put up a link. I have to read this article.
I'll send you a link.
Please. I genuinely, because here's the thing, oh my God, there's probably going to be a lot.
I hope this comes out to be bullshit, because I would much rather be able to come on the next show and be like, no, that was just someone overreacting or some story that was strewn or something. And someone did digging and it was like, no, this wasn't true. The reason she got
so yeah, that just really, really good.
But if it is true, that's worse off. Like, this is one of the things where it's crazy, but I hope it's wrong. I really hope it's wrong. Because if it's not, that's a huge fucking issue. Major. Like, again, like I've said in multiple shows, can we stop playing fucking make-believe? Because this is crazy.
Do you remember when this whole transgender movement really started? There was people about being trans-abled.
I mean, are we talking about like mainstream, or are we talking RuPaul?
No, mainstream.
Not really.
Transvestite versus transgender, two completely different things. So, do you remember when we were discussing like trans-abled, trans race?
Vaguely.
Like, there was a TikTok of a guy who, when TikTok first came out, when the transgender movement really steamrolled, there were people that were trying to other trans, like there was that 40-something-year-old man who identified as a 6-year-old girl.
Yes.
There was also a white guy that identified as a mid-40s black woman.
We'll let that sink in.
Serious. I'm going to count to 30 in my head. You count too. We are not going to talk.
I don't know.
Fuck that 30. All right. We are to the point now, and that just reinforced what I just said about the next generation. We have kids that a kid can get a teacher fired because he didn't meow back. So when is the Black Lives Matter movement going to get held accountable for the white male or female that identifies as a black male or woman, black male or female? When are they going to get criticized because now they're not acknowledging a transracial person?
That's actually a good point.
Never going to happen.
And
especially come election 2024, that'll never happen.
And does that become an issue where the trans is saying you're oppressing me because of my skin color to the Black Lives Matter movement, which is going to become this weird internal black versus black? And just saying it, I'm trying to wrap my head around a logical something, and just my brain is just like, it's like trying to run two gears in the same direction. You're like,
put it to you this way. This is great. This is really good. And I'm going to use an example from a real life experience that I just recently had within the last few weeks. I have a coworker that is
you don't even know.
Well, this person feels very strongly about being black and white being white.
Right.
Because there is a Puerto Rican gentleman that I work with, 100% Puerto Rican. He'll sit there and to anybody, yo, man, you know, he'll say that in a friendly manner. It bothers this person because this person is black. No matter what, that is a black terminology. And that gentleman who is 100% Puerto Rican, born in Puerto Rico, all that fun stuff, is white. They're not black, they're white.
See, that's a weird thing.
This person made it very clear to me that this person, this Puerto Rican gentleman, is not allowed to say that word no matter what in a friendly manner because they cannot use the terminology spick. I'm half Spanish, half Italian. There's other terminologies that the Hispanic community will use in friendly manners.
Right.
So because this black person feels they can't say spick in a friendly manner because there is no positive reinforcement behind the term spick, it's not fair that white person should not be allowed to use their word. This person isn't white. He's Puerto Rican.
Right.
100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is Puerto Rican. He's not white skin. He's brown. He's fucking brown. He's only a few shades lighter than this other person who's black.
I don't...
But that Puerto Rican gentleman isn't black. They're white to this other person. And they can't say that word. Which, whatever. I have no interest in using the terminology. I don't think... Will I sing it in a song? Fuck yeah, sure. DMX, go, buddy, go. I fucking love hip-hop. I love rap. I will sing along with a lot of the songs that I know that the terminology is used. And I've sung those songs in front of black people that'll sit there right alongside and sing with me and not be an eyelash. But this person, I really looked at this person in my head and I literally said this out loud to this person. I'm like, and therein lies the problem. That's why there is still an issue. And I walked away. Now, was I trying to bait? Maybe. Was I trying to shut that person up and piss them off? Probably. But to sit there and call another race a white person in a negative manner, like, I'm white, you're white, that offended me. But I wasn't going to get butthurt over it, report this person, get them fired. No, I had no fucking interest in dealing with that shit. I just didn't have any interest in hearing the conversation anymore. So I'm like, well, and therein lies the problem. And I walked away.
I don't know when I think mainstream really hasn't even dropped this. Yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy.
Because that's like...
So when this Black Lives Matter...
And that's an example of someone's clearly not something. And they're still
but therein lies the problem. When you've got people like that with that mentality, good person, I could talk to this person and have a conversation with them. They're a decent person to be around and hang out with and talk to, especially in work forms.
Right.
You know, we don't sit there and hang out and shoot the shit for 6-7 hours a day. But when you've got that mentality in when you've got people with that mentality in the Black Lives Matter movement, whether it's white person, a black person, Puerto Rican person, Asian person, doesn't matter. When you've got somebody with that mentality in the movement, supporting that side, now you are faced with the dilemma of that 40-something-year-old white man identifying as a 30-something-year-old black female, and you've got teachers being fired from schools because they did not acknowledge that a child who probably still doesn't even know how to wipe their own ass properly can make the conscious decision that they identify as a feline. What are you going to do when the white person or the Asian person or the Puerto Rican or the whatever racial ethnicity that person is identifies as a black person and then takes offense to something? Now you got to address that issue because you feel that person's not black, so they're not black. Or that person's not Asian, so they're not Asian. It could be any culture for that matter.
What I see is just this crazy thing going on where it's almost like now it's a think tank. What can you come up with that you can identify as? When's the first time we're going to get somebody who says, I identify as someone who just can't see anybody's color, race, or rhyme, or reason, whatever?
Binary, non-binary, whatever it is.
No, I can't see anybody else's whatever. Like, you are not white, you are not Hispanic, you are not black, you are not anything, you are just here. When's that movement going to come? And who's that going to piss off?
But it can't piss anybody off. It can't piss people off because if that person identifies under that spectrum of observance in the world, now you're pressing their beliefs. You're trying to say, "Oh, it's not how you're hardwired." You're just saying that to piss me off.
Until the next person comes out that says, "I can't accept anybody's opinion. I identify as someone who doesn't operate on opinion-only fact."
Maybe
it's just a compounding.
Maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
You can't.
If enough people identify as not being able to see color or race or accept opinion, maybe the neural implant is the way to go. Maybe we're all going to be robots. Maybe Will Smith had it right when he tried to kiss that robotic nurse.
The Borg,
and she shut him down.
Borg.
Did you see that video? He's like,
yes.
He's leaning in real close.
Yeah.
I like you as a friend. Oh.
Yeah.
Will Smith. I'd even make out with the guy if he wanted to. Like you wouldn't? Fuck you, you would.
You just disagreed and then agreed with me all in the same. Anyway.
Will Smith walks up to you and says, "James, make out with me." You're going to kiss him on the lips.
It's,
I would.
That's neither here nor there.
He's a handsome man. Morgan Freeman too, even with that raisin on his face. Mm-hmm. That's what I
like raisins.
That's what Marlon Wayans calls it. I don't even like old Morgan Freeman with the raisins on his face.
I don't know. I don't really know about this whole. The fact that we can have people that identify as cats apparently. So then
children,
everything I just like spewed
not even
out,
people, children.
Everything I just spewed out is not outside of the realm of possibility.
No,
because the cat thing is just beyond that. It really is. The other two things might be a little more philosophical based.
You know who had it?
But the cat thing is just like Saturday morning cartoon based.
You know what really started all this? The furries.
That's true.
They had the butt plugs with the tails in their butts.
Furries are the first ones that are going to really heavily invest in the metaverse if they're not already there.
Nah,
because then they don't have to dress as something. Speaking of, there is a fucking competition where people dress as dogs and take their people dogs to the people dog competition.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yes, I've heard of that.
This is another thing
It's
I just came across a couple nights ago.
Dog show.
Yeah. What?
That's legit.
So again, furries, metaverse, they're going to be in there. What the fuck ever. Moving on. I'm done with this. This is so stupid. But hey, here we are talking about it.
No, don't take that off.
You realize I'm like 3 points in. We've been at this for like an hour.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Oh, God.
No, that's okay. But SCOTUS.
Oh, my God.
Ruling blocks mandates for private companies. Supreme Court.
That got shut. Yeah. That got shut down.
For the companies 100 plus, that whole thing. But you see, healthcare workers are still required to do it. And after that happened, you see Biden was basically pleading. It's like, please, this is the private businesses. This is still on you. You still please support the mandates and this and that. But here, the thing with that is now, if let's go and say with the release of these documents now, the government's saying Pfizer, Moderna, you have to release these documents to us in a time frame, a small time frame.
Very small.
If something comes out and says there's adverse effects, and I have a thing on Pfizer specifically, now if there's any lawsuits or anything, it doesn't fall on the government. And I think that might have been a determining factor on the Supreme Court's ruling. There won't be anything on them because now all the fall will be laid on the business itself, each private business. Mm-hmm. You made me do this without whatever, not knowing this information, and now I have these adverse effects. Now I'm not saying it's like 99.97 or something.
It was
fine, but
definitely a good sleight of hand trick right there for the government.
But now, these adverse effects will be on the business itself. So now the business is like, do I do this? Do I not? Because before they were under the umbrella of the government. Well, if shit hits the fan, they told us to do it. But now it's not. Shit hits the fan. Well, now it's on them. So it's a good thing. You know what's interesting about the whole Biden thing? This was brought up, and I was like, that's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect comparison. Last year, Trump he demanded a recount. The election was stolen, and he was almost begging people, please recount this. And it almost looked pathetic. A year later, Biden's mandate got struck down, and he went on begging companies, you have to please enforce this mandate. Now he looks pathetic. The rule is, everyone's pathetic.
Don't beg for it.
General rule, yeah.
Oh, crap.
We're all beggars.
Some more than others, I guess.
Yeah, so there was also a thing I read on parents. This is more, I think, of a stretch. Parents losing custody of their kids if they don't agree or they have vaccine hesitancy. Now, there is a report. This has to do with all vaccines. Mm-hmm. I think it was in the 70s or 80s, maybe, where there was an argument made if people like they didn't want smallpox vaccines or anything. The parent was like,
Yeah.
Because if you remember, like 20 years ago or so, there was this huge thing where a lot of parents thought autism is triggered by vaccines.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing. And even back then, I'm like,
who was the famous actress? Melissa McCarthy? No. Who was it? There was a famous actress that really pushed the whole anti-vax for anything. And she was getting a lot of, like, support.
Maybe this wasn't like 20 years. Maybe it was like 10, 15 years.
No, it was
pretty recent.
Early 2000s, I want to say.
Yeah.
There was a lot of children going to school that weren't vaccinated for the usual vaccines.
Right.
Like measles, mumps, rosacea, et cetera, all that stuff. Yeah. But there was like, they were trying to link they were trying to prove the correlation between autism, children developing autism, right? Not being born with autism, developing autism due to all the vaccines,
right?
That they were mandated.
And I don't think there was anything that came out to
no, it amounts to nothing.
And that right from the get go, and even someone I know very close to me, like, was very firmly on board with that. And right from the get go, this is back when I didn't really like do a lot of research or like look at before podcast days and stuff. But I was like,
that's better. Not
in my head, I'm like, I don't know. I don't. It's gut feeling. Like, I don't think so.
So here's the thing, though. Let's fast forward 30 years with this vaccine. Let's go back in the days first. So 50s, 60s, 70s, when these vaccines were coming out for like measles, mumps, polio, et cetera. A lot of those vaccines, I can guarantee you, people were met the same way the COVID vaccine was met with today.
Right.
Except then we didn't have the outlets we have today.
I don't know. I'd be willing to argue that because back then we didn't have the internet. Back then it was like there were 4 or 5 news, or maybe even back then there was like 2 or 3 news facets, and that's where you got your information. And if they said we need this, everyone in the 50s was like, yeah, we should get this because they're telling us this.
But there was COVID. Let's go with polio. COVID versus polio. Kids coming out. There's no vaccine for children 0 to 5 years old, or whatever. There may be. I don't know. But a kid getting COVID, I got COVID, you got COVID, we saw the effects of it. When you are faced with the evidence of seeing a child develop physically disabled because of polio versus seeing a kid go through a COVID case, the 5 media outlets that they had back in the day, they were doing nothing but showing these kids in hospitals, leg braces, physically disabled, mentally disabled. These kids,
the adverse effects were drastically different.
Yeah. So when they saw the news, oh shit, they have like 80.
Fuck no.
Yeah, I don't want my kid coming up like that and having braces on his legs for the next 20 years. Give him the vaccine. Now, when you see a child with COVID that tests positive for COVID, okay, the kid is best case scenario. The kid is laid up for a couple of days with the flu-like symptoms.
Right. If that.
Okay, so
like mine.
Give them.
Wouldn't even. I mean, she'd coughing.
Give them
running around the whole time.
Give them some Dayquil. Give them some children's Dayquil, some children's NyQuil, whatever. Tylenol,
yeah.
Whatever, and let it be. But we've seen the best case, worst case scenarios for children.
Right.
So it's like being able to lose your kids because you're not COVID vaccinating them. What is that? What I'm getting at?
Yeah. The argument is
that what I'm getting from that?
This is going back to the old vaccines, and the idea behind it is it would be considered a form of child neglect.
Yeah.
Now, if you go with like polio and mumps, measles, and things like that. That's a viable argument. Yeah, because those are horrible fucking afflictions.
Yeah, you can watch a person of perfectly standing health die.
There is a small percentage of left, of course. And I'm sure there's people on the right that think so too, but there's a small percentage where they think, well, if you don't want to get your kid vaxxed to go to school, you should fall in that category, and your child should be taken away from you because you're neglecting their well-being. And again, I'm like, that's a stretch.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because obviously you read the article, I didn't. A child with natural immunity. That child does not need to be vaccinated because it has a natural immunity.
I'll go in the opposite direction even further. Oh, finish your thought.
So is it now child neglect that you are imposing an unnecessary vaccine on that child?
That's a good point as well.
I hope. All right, let me say this first and foremost. I hope it never comes to that. Do I think it will? No.
I don't either. But.
I hope it doesn't, but I don't think it ever will come to where a parent can suffer the consequence of losing their child based on neglect because they chose not to vaccinate them.
Here's my argument, strong argument in the opposite direction. Let's say, fine, vaccines, if you don't get your child vaccinated, it's neglect. And you have the right to come and take the child away, my child, whoever's. But under that pretense, if you allow your child to overeat, if you allow your child to live in a house where there's smoke, if you allow the child to drive in a car where you're under the influence, if you drink around your child and show him behaviors, be it abusive, alcoholism, chain smoking, drug use, violent language,
playing a video game in front of your child that depicts violence,
anything, is this all considered child neglect or abuse as well? Where do you draw the line? Because now you're talking about a virus that basically is the flu Mark II, and you say, well, it's neglect if you don't get the child administered a vaccine to that kid. That's neglect. But there's other things like overeating, poor diet and health that would lead to heart conditions.
Hygiene.
That would lead
personal care.
That would lead to serious health conditions that are beyond anything COVID. On a grand scale, not even like, well, there's a small percent that are getting hit nasty, and I have actually percentage, it's later, but now that's not neglect, but this is, like, you can't, again, like I've said before, you can't pick and choose different things, be like, well, this is serious, but never mind that.
Well, do you remember there was the child that died in our area not too long ago, I want to say within the last few years, 3 to 5 years, because vape pens. It had the kid. You remember that? The child got the fluid that went into the vape pen and drank it and died from poisoning.
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
That parent didn't. That parent didn't lose the rest of their children.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, if you go, yeah, there's so many examples where if you're going to go down that road, you have to theoretically go down every road. You can't just not, because there's other things that are way worse than that. Well, that's not neglect.
Now, is it okay? So, my little man, for example, is it neglect that I will let my child only eat about half of his dinner because he's a small kid? He's not going to eat a full plate, but I let him go back and munch as he goes along. But because I didn't make him eat his whole dinner right there, am I neglecting that child? And now, am I neglecting that child because I made him eat all that dinner? It's a double-edged sword, no matter how you look at it.
That's an extreme, but I guess if you stretch the argument, you could actually be like, maybe. But again, that just goes to, that's just further saying, where do you draw that line? I don't know.
You really don't.
So, yeah.
It's fucked up.
One thing, the Tonga volcano.
Yeah.
I put this in. This none of this is going to be in. Usually, I put these in orders of subject. But I just wrote this as I went.
I watched the video. Did you see the video? Of the satellite video of it exploding?
I got something to say about that. Go ahead. Again, go.
There's satellite footages. There's other satellite footage of volcanoes exploding that did not look like a nuclear blast.
Yeah, I've heard that.
None of them have ever looked like a nuclear blast.
I saw one video where there was somebody trying to make the point, I'm stressing trying to make the point where, look, here's a blast. I'm going to show you this thing that flies into the epicenter right before. And it was this little white object flying into the blast, or the epicenter, what would be the blast. And then it goes in the water, and then the blast happens. Tell me what that is, implying it was a nuke.
Yeah.
People don't, I guess people just fail to understand scale. Now, if that was a nuke that flew into this blast,
That nuke's probably a mile long.
a mile, that nuke would have been 15 miles long. Where are we building 15-mile-long missiles and shooting them off what fucking platform?
I have proof that a 15-mile-long nuke exists. It's not that big, folks at home.
Comes out on a flash drive.
Fuck! It's a thumb drive, all right?
Yeah, whatever.
That's where the terminology came from.
The
size of a thumb.
Yeah, so I looked at that. I'm like, I'm watching. I'm like,
dude, I didn't see that video, and I didn't hear about that. But you're 100% right. In scale ratio, if you stop and think about it, you know, people say, well, you could see the lights of New York City from space. You could see all of New York City from space as one dot. Like from far out, from a moon looking down, you can see the light that is New York City.
Sure.
But you're also talking about fucking 11 million people with lights on at the same time.
Well, that's from
now,
that far, but most of our satellites are just in space, and it's not as far. I mean, it's far, but not as far as a lot of people think.
Technically, 20. Well,
you can see land masses. You can see like mountains. You can see
space is only 26 miles above us. I think is what it is.
It's not as far as you think.
Far.
It's less than from here to Albany.
But if you can see a small, let's say it's the size of a rice grain on this video, you can see the size of a rice grain like object fly into where the epicenter would be. You're talking like you can't even make out the distinction of a naval battle cruiser from that distance. It's just a blot. It's like a small little period.
Right. Yeah, I mean we got like. It's a sandworm from Dune.
Yeah.
Like just flew into
from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, and just blew up. Now the Dune ones are bigger. But anyway.
Yeah, but the Beetlejuice ones are cooler.
That's true. That's very true.
Sandworm.
But yeah, so then the tsunami that hit and everything after.
Yeah,
it did minor flooding, which... Yeah,
now, do I believe... I don't know enough. To go.
No, as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh wow, volcano just like blew up. And then you hear the shockwave. People just got recorded all over the world, like the shockwave that hit after, which is pretty intense to see. Just there's like recording, boom, I'm like wow.
But when you stop and think about it, dude, I mean, if you literally Google like YouTube volcanic explosions from space, it looks nothing like ever seen before.
An eruption and an explosion are two different things. And I've seen a lot of these too. People are like, oh, if you look at a volcano like exploding or erupting from space, it's nothing. It's like, well, there's a difference between volcanoes in Hawaii erupting and Mount St. Helens or Krakatoa or what's the other
Pompeii.
one? Pompeii. Like those were explosions. That was a built up pressure that just finally from the caldera went boom and just let go. Whereas an eruption is just a constant spew. No, they're nowhere near the same thing. But an explosion, I think that's viable. You could see that from space. I would love to. It would have been maybe there's. I don't know. I don't know enough on Mount St. Helens to see if they actually had satellite imagery from space. That'd be something. But that would be something to see that from space.
Yeah.
So I think it was an eruption. I think it was an actual volcano eruption. But as soon as I saw it, and as soon as I started seeing more and more videos pop up, I'm like, give it time. Within hours. No, this was a nuclear strike. This is a test. I'm like, there it is. There it is. Could it be? Sure. I mean, we've covered shit that would be like, no. But then you look into it and like, well, baby blood.
No, baby blood, bro.
Truckers that cross Canadian border have to quarantine. Canadian truckers that cross the border have to quarantine. American truckers
have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, or they can't cross.
Yep. So that's legit. I have a close friend who crosses the border every bi-weekly, maybe tri-weekly, he crosses the Canadian border. And even before it was mandated,
We brought this up like a month or two ago. But
he explained, and I overheard the phone conversation. The border patrolman or patrol officer, be it male or female, said, "Hey, are you vaccinated?" And my friend goes, "Yeah, I am." "Oh, okay. Well, just wanted to make sure because you do realize that the at this date, you know, you can no longer cross the border unless you're vaccinated." "Yeah, you know, I took the vaccine preemptively, knowing this was going to be a thing." So.
right, kind of figuring.
So even before it was like, well, you know, it's not a mandate yet, but it will be, so you might want to get it done.
But that was before the Supreme Court ruling and everything. But then again, that goes that half of it has to do with Canada. Well, actually, the whole thing does, because if you're in Canada, you have to quarantine crossing, and if you're not Canadian and you go across, you can't go across unless you're vaccinated by Canada standards.
Yep.
So that doesn't have anything to do with us. That's just the business here being like, well, we need to ship there, so you have to get it done.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's got it done has to go. Yeah. So, and there was also a protest I heard at the border. Canadian border. I don't know if it was in New York, but there was a protest on a Canadian border. A bunch of truckers are actually like stopping traffic, protesting.
I can ask about that. I could definitely give you some follow up.
Yeah, do that.
I can do that.
I heard that. That was another thing I heard yesterday. I'm like, oh, really?
Because of the the close association I have with this subject, I can definitely. Hey, yo, is this legit? What happened? I mean, him of all people is going to know.
There was this moving on, the Oath Keepers founder, Stuart Rhodes, charged with seditious conspiracy.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't get much of a chance to look into it. What's up with that?
Founder and leader of the extremist group Oath Keepers was like the big thing. They were the ones going down, really inciting the violence during January 6th. There's videos of, I don't know if it was the Stuart Rhodes or there was another one. Oh, I can't remember his name. That was shown, I think it was the second guy, that was shown actually speaking the day before, on the 5th, about we're going to go in there. Like, verbally saying, recorded, we're going in the Capitol. Like, really getting people, getting it in their minds, playing the seeds. Like, when we march there, we're going to get there and we're going to go in. Turns out these guys were already there before they'd even started marching from the Trump rally. Now, this isn't letting Trump off the hook, because when he was there, he was firing people up. Now, I don't think he had any anticipation of having anyone actually go in and do this. This is where this other group came in.
I don't think he had any intention on anybody getting hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
Or breaking into the Capitol at all. I think his idea was to get people riled up and be like, we want change. This is where these other groups come in. This is the same argument with Antifa and everything. But this is where the Oath Keepers are shown, like, the day before, saying like, when we get there, we're gonna get in. There's a whole bunch of videos, I guess, of him while they got to the Capitol. He was whispering in somebody's ear right before, like, they went and like up to the door or the window, started breaking the window in. Like, he was in a whole bunch of places, like kind of like nudging, like pushing, nudging, getting people to do stuff.
Okay.
And then they get in the Capitol and everything. It was, history after that.
Yeah.
But I guess he got charged. Arrested Thursday at charged seditious conspiracy, accused of guiding a months-long effort to unleash politically motivated violence to prevent the swearing in of President Biden that culminated in the January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, because you just said it like that.
Right.
Would you classify that as an attack on the Capitol?
By technicality, it is.
Okay.
Technicality, it is. And my argument, it's not really an argument, but we've made mention before, it's a comparison with Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and everything that happened the summer before that. The difference is when it was out west and LA, throughout California and Seattle specifically, and it was a massive thing going on. There was tons of destruction. There was business owners of color saying, this isn't helping us. You're destroying what we owned. From D.C. during all that, you were hearing this is their right. This is quoted. This is their right to do that. It was a news anchor. I don't know if it was NBC or ABC. Or
there
one
was
of those.
A few facets
they were saying
that would
this is their
go
right.
out to the streets and
CNN maybe.
incite
I think it was actually Chris Cuomo. To be honest with you, I think he's the one that said it's their right to do this while they were destroying shit. Now, fast forward at that time, what is it, like 4 months? Whatever it was. And the same exact thing was happening, except it was in their backyard. And now they called it domestic terrorism. When, if you boil it down, it was a movement because they felt that something was askew. They felt something was wrong, and they wanted something to change. Maybe some of them wanted the election just overturned. Other people just were there because we need some kind of different voting measures. We need like mail-in ballots. There's a lot of controversy on that.
I think a lot of people were there primarily for the fact that they felt there was an injustice and nobody was willing to acknowledge it.
Exactly.
I don't think people went there trying to change the process. I think a lot of people went to the March on Capitol Hill with the intent of, look, something wrong happened. You guys just need to acknowledge it.
Same thing with Black Lives Matter and that movement. It was a group of them. The majority is like, we need change. Mm-hmm. Figure it out. But there were small groups in each one that took it way to the extreme. And the riots happened. And then the March on Capitol Hill and the riot and breaking in.
Yeah.
That happened.
I agree.
And then Kamala Harris had GoFundMe's or some shit like that to get people out of prison from the riots, the BLM riots and Antifa. They were GoFundMe me to get these people who clearly broke the law to get out of prison. And then the Capitol riots happened. They said they were domestic terrorists. The same fucking people. Again, it's binary. It's either they're both mostly peaceful protests or they're both fucking breaking the law.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with skin. It has everything to do with law.
What did I say about narrative earlier?
Yeah.
If it doesn't support in a positive manner the narrative of one's agenda, it will be okay for one, but bad for another.
Yeah.
Double standards.
And yeah. U.S. inflation jumped 7% in December. I think anybody who's out and about, whether you want to admit it or not, can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Because our pockets are a little lighter than they were a little over a year ago.
Hold on. I was literally just talking to somebody the other day about price gouging. Oh, pet supplies. I was discussing with my significant other about how a month ago on Amazon, a particular pet supply product was $20. Mm-hmm. Now it's $80.
Really?
Yep. It quadrupled.
I mean, that happened in the beginning of the pandemic with like fitness equipment, because I picked up a set of dumbbells, and for the longest time it was about $1-ish a pound, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. It would fluctuate.
Yeah, depending on where you went and the name brand. The brand had a lot to do with.
Sometimes, but as a majority for like dumbbells and things like that, it was pretty universal. It was about $1 a pound, give or take. Mm-hmm. Now it's like $3 or $4 a pound. If you go to Walmart and try to get a 25-pound dumbbell.
Yeah, that one day we went. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $45-50.
Yep.
That's good. Even kettlebells and stuff. I looked at one of those. I'm like, I'm going to pick one of those up, and
Aren't those the things you use for Kegels?
Yep. It was the same thing, like no difference in price.
Oh. We'll make it pick up a 25-pound bell doing our Kegels.
Easy.
I'm not going near it.
Easy sauce. Break
my little thumb drive right in half.
But that's just bullshit pet food and workout equipment.
Yeah.
That happened in the beginning of the pandemic. Now it's just everywhere across the board.
Yep.
Partially the weight thing was because supply and demand. Gyms were shut down. It's like, fuck, I'm going to just work out at home. So everyone was buying them up. Oh, yeah. Like at the store, like aftermarket, everyone's just buying them up, so they just weren't available. Now you just see it in groceries. There's a lot of people are posting shortages, but we also had a snowstorm go through, so
yeah, we did.
You can't just jump on that bandwagon. Look, they're starting us. Like, we just had a snowstorm. What's happened every fucking year with snowstorms? Everyone reacts like this is going to be the one that drops 70 inches of snow, and then we get 8.
We all go out, buy fucking cases of water, rolls of toilet paper, tons of canned food.
Which it's good to see people prepare. But everyone does it like it's the end of the world every year. Every
Doomsday
year,
preppers.
Yeah, for a snowstorm. That it's like, in 24 hours we'll probably be cleared out and fine.
Yeah. Not if they launch another nuclear test above the ocean.
I forgot about that. Yeah. And then, but we'll call the volcano.
Yeah, anyway. The volcano, sorry. The volcano test.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, I brought up the Pfizer and Moderna, like having to leak things.
They're sketchy little record. Muckraking, I saw that little note.
Yeah, it really is. But
when are they going to start going at each other?
Watch one buys out the other. That seems to be the
J&J buys them all.
Whatever.
The one with the worst track record of all the vaccines ends up winning them all.
Right. Actually, I think Pfizer might have that. But we were talking about the SCOTUS ruling and how like it would be on businesses and whatnot, and be like, well, you got this, and if there's adverse effects to go along with the adverse effects thing, this is off justice.gov.
.gov, federally regulated
This
site.
is a Pfizer. The thing is, Justice Department announced its largest healthcare fraud settlement in its history. This is from 2009. Just, it's a side note that I wanted to bring up because I'll explain after. But it says the American pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its subsidiary Pharmacia and Upjohn Company Incorporated have agreed to pay $2.3 billion, the largest healthcare fraud settlement in the history of the Department of Justice, to resolve criminal and civil liability arising from the illegal promotion of certain pharmaceutical products. The Justice Department announced today. They've agreed to plead guilty to felony violation of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act for misbranding Bextra with the intent to defraud or mislead. Bextra is an anti-inflammatory drug that Pfizer pulled from the market in 2005. Under the provisions of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, a company must specify the intent uses of a product in its new drug application to FDA. Once approved, the drug may not be marked or promoted for so-called off-label, air quotes, uses, i.e. any use not specified in application or approved by FDA. Pfizer promoted the sale of Bextra for several uses and dosages that the FDA specifically declined to approve due to safety concerns. The company will pay a criminal fine of $1.195 million, or bill, the largest criminal, yeah, and this is going through the payment and everything. My point to reading this off and just kind of making note of it, and this actually goes back with an older topic in one of our older shows, but just happened to lead into what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that not even 10 years ago, the left was the one that was heavily against corporation, and a big one was Big Pharma. I remember back in like 2008 when I was watching, when I was like really left, not extreme left, but I was more leaning left. And Michael Moore would come out with things like Sicko, I think it was, talking about the American pharmaceutical company and just healthcare in general. And the big thing that a lot of people wanted on the left was healthcare. Well, they wanted it universal.
Uniform healthcare.
It really can't be for a couple different reasons. But they were all outspoken against Big Pharma for reasons like this, because they had sketchy practices. They weren't looking out for our best interests. It was all money. Oh, yeah. And now fast forward to 2019 to now, and a complete script flip. And now the left is like, we need the Big Pharma's on our side. Big Pharma hasn't fucking changed at all. They haven't like suddenly have an awakening. Like, no, we can... No, it just so happens that a couple seeds were planted here and there in media. Everything like turned, and now they're looking out for us. They haven't changed anything, clearly.
No, if that's the case, why are people still paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for cancer treatments?
Yeah, if not more, depending on how long they're in the hospital.
You want to get talking, fuck this vaccine, fuck this COVID, fuck all of this noise. If you want to get down to technicality, cancer is supposed to be like this never-ending monster, and yet some of these pills go upwards of $5,000-$6,000 a pill for treatment.
Yep.
Well, you got to think about it in the cost perspective, because people got to make those pills, people got to do those prescriptions, people got to do the research, people got to do this, people got to do that. Yeah. but a worldwide killer of millions of people every year die from cancer?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me Big Pharma's on our side? Make that shit free. You remember, what was it, 10 years ago? Insulin. Remember that shit? That woman was in, there was a woman, one of the major corporations of the insulin developers, producers, whatever it was. She was like the CEO or something like that. She was on trial because during someone's administration, I think it was Obama's administration, the insulin medicine was going at like X amount of dollars. Well, and this isn't like a pro-Trump thing. During when he first started or something like that. No,
yes, I know where you're going with this. It dropped it significantly.
Yeah, it went down to like $60 a vial, I think was one of the numbers. And then when she got back and the regulations were lifted, it went up to like $300 a bottle.
Yeah. I do remember that. That was just in the news, well, like a year or so ago, but yeah.
Yeah, and everything was like right there. You mean to tell me when it was okay to produce at $60 a bottle, no one was complaining, and then, well, we got more research going on, so now we got up to $300.
Because a lot of these companies pride themselves on innovation. It's all innovation. It's all, well, we have R&D. We've talked about before how much money goes into that.
Oh, yeah.
So the more money they have for R&D, the more they can basically repurpose drugs, call it innovation, and then resell it for something else. Otherwise, they go like Pfizer did in this case, where they just repurposed something or said it also does this without any FDA consent. That's why they had this massive fucking fine thrown on them, a federal offense.
Yeah.
Like that R&D and repurposing drugs, which they do all the time. Like repurposing drugs isn't the issue because they do it constantly. They'll take a drug, change some formula in it, and be like, okay, now we can use it for this. Yeah. It's a normal thing.
You could take an inflammatory and literally turn it into a blood pressure medication.
Sure.
In some instances. Like the baby aspirin. Remember Bayer? Remember 20 years ago? Everyone was like, take a baby aspirin every day.
I think that's one of the things where low-dose aspirin came from. It's 81 milligrams a pill instead of 325.
If you take a baby aspirin every day, it'll help prevent your risk of stroke later on in life. You know, you're talking about a painkiller, an anti-inflammatory that you're supposed to be taking when you have aches and pains in the moment. But now if you take one every day, it'll help thin your blood so that in 20 years... you're much less risk of a stroke.
I don't know if it's thins your blood or...
Whatever it was. Basically, it wasn't even being repurposed. It was, well, it could also do this. We just found another alternative method that it might help other things.
Right.
It might. Keywords, might. And people, I mean, come on. Every bathroom you went to, everybody had a bottle of Bayer or something like that, or baby aspirin, et cetera, et cetera. You mean to tell me... because people weren't buying the medicine unless they were hurting, all of a sudden now everyone's going on buying?
Sure.
That was all about the money gain.
Sure.
All about the money.
And I think there's actually something to that, though. But yeah.
Regardless, I hope it was beneficial. But then again, in the same breath, if it's preventative health care, go ahead. Fucking mark it down to $1 a bottle now.
Right. Yeah. And
because you want people to be alive in 20 years.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, aspirin isn't like where some of these drugs like Bextra and more recently COVID vaccines, those aren't readily available.
No.
Those are like patented like formulas, where aspirin is, if we wanted, we could go and take out a business loan and start a business and just start producing aspirin because it's available to anybody.
Yeah.
Those are two different.
And that's honest to God, out of all this, really quick touch base on the COVID vaccine. That is one thing I will support in regards to the vaccine. The fact that it is readily available and you don't have to pay for it.
Right.
That is very good PR.
Convenient.
Very good PR, if you ask me.
Well, we don't have to pay for it.
But that's the way all of healthcare should be.
There is arguments to that. And actually, I heard this last night on Tim Pool's. They just happened to bring that up. It was Joe Rogan. They brought up the universal healthcare thing and the pros and cons basically to it, and they're talking about how California is trying to do that, but you need money clearly to higher taxes. That's what they wanted, to raise taxes to have a universal healthcare system. Well, you do that, and now the wealthy are going to move out of that state. So now you're laying all those taxes on the less fortunate in that state to pay for the people that want universal health care. Here's compounding onto that. Now you're going to get people from out of the state that want universal health care, so they're going to flood to that state. So now you have X amount of dollars coming in for an increasing population, even if they get taxed half. If you had half of your money taken out of your check, wouldn't that drastically decrease what you have and what you were available to get?
Oh, yeah.
So now if all that money's being taken in, you have more and more a bigger population for just anyone who has any ailment. And now, like,
yeah, but
when does that stop?
So here's the thing. Why tax people more?
Because you have to pay for it.
Why should anybody be paying for it in that regard?
Because would you go to work for free? I feel like I'm arguing for it. But would you go to work for free? Charlie, I need you to run this to Buffalo and back. It's going to take 8 hours.
If I knew all my groceries that day were free, fuck yeah, I would do it.
But your groceries aren't free because you still have to take your money.
So now I need to get paid. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you start at the bottom and work your way to the top, or start your way, flip that. Start at the top. Make it all free. All your employees for this big pharma work for free. They get free healthcare, free everything. Everything that this big pharmaceutical company puts out is now free.
But that's tax dollars. So now you have to increase taxes to pay the
Star Trek had it right. Everything's free. You get free groceries, you get free gas as long as you go to work and do your job every day.
You're going to come up with two different scenarios then. You're going to come up with either a trade barter system or socialism. Because that's the only way that works. Unless somebody can sit down and formulate this brand new system, what you're describing through what we had through history is either trade and barter or socialism. Because communism, you can get rich.
What's wrong with trade and barter? I mean, if you can, if you can sit there and literally trade leatherworking for free healthcare, would you say no?
I have always been an advocate for trade and barter.
You want to go to medical school and become a doctor.
It eliminates richness by tangible things, and now it puts richness or equity in ability. What can you do? Trade and barter has always been like, that's great. What can you do that will benefit me? Because if you can sit there and be like, I have 18 forms of revenue streaming in, great. That's great for you. But some of those revenues might not actually do anything for anybody else. Stock markets, for one. You could make the argument that investing in the stock market does help other people, because technically it does, who are invested in the stock market. But if I'm not invested in the stock market and you are, what the hell does that do for me? I'm making this amount of money and they're making this amount of money and whatever. And okay, so what? But trade and barter, you have to have, and that's another thing. Trade and barter would increase vocational schools. So you'd have to learn a skill, which that's a big thing too, is with vocational skills is kind of an offshoot. The big thing we have all these students going into colleges and everything, getting these degrees, which is just a piece of paper that says I did this, especially nowadays. That was pushed way back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially in like later, 70s, 80s, and the 90s. Get this piece of paper because you could really get an education. You really get a great job to fill these higher, upper echelon, professional, whatever jobs. Now we're 30, 40 years later, and all those jobs are filled. But we're still pushing, if you get these degrees, you can get these jobs. But we have people getting out of 2, 4, 6, 8-year degrees, years of school, and now they have this piece of paper and they're still making $14, $15, $16 an hour, working at a store, working at a warehouse, whatever, because they can't get hired. But at the same time, and this is nationwide, maybe even worldwide, there are trucking businesses, there are plumbers, there are electricians, there are
carpenters
that are dying for help. They need help because and you can make $100,000. You could go in for 8 months.
One of the areas I drive, I've always seen it, and it's crazy to say that a year and a half ago when I started driving, I saw the advertisement for construction working, bricklayers. It was like $30-$40 an hour a year and a half ago. I still see that sign. It's up to $70 an hour.
Yeah.
For bricklaying.
And what's mind-boggling is that if you go to school and ask students, is a college degree the most important thing you could get out of your like educational career? And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 will say yeah, because that's what's pushed. And that's not even necessarily like, oh, it's a money thing or whatever. But I mean, if you look at college courses, they leave school, even as a doctor, and they get into it, culinary school, whatever. I mean, they get into it at base rate, and you still have to, unless you're a specialist or something, you still have to work your way up.
Yep.
You're still in debt for 15, 20. There are people that are retired that are still being doxxed for college tuitions. Like, that's insanity. But if you go to a vocational school for a year, spend 3, 4, 5 grand.
There's truck driving schools that will pay your tuition.
Yeah, you sign up for a contract or something, right?
Yeah,
you stay with us 1, 2, 3,
Well,
whatever.
it's not even that. Basically, so all right, so I'll use my experience. I went to the CDL school, and I got the lowest package. It was just over $2,000, paid out of pocket.
Right.
No guarantee of a job. But the next package up, which was $4,000, guaranteed a job and tuition reimbursement. You basically signed for a loan because you did have to get a credit check. You did have to be approved. They got you a job. And that job, as long as you worked for them, would make your monthly payments. And you're talking about in the trucking industry, especially where an over-the-road driver right now going in could probably make upwards of $85 to $100K a year to start.
Yeah.
To start. I rubbed shoulders, not the distribution job I was working before I started driving, the distribution job, one before that, I worked there for 9 years. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. I rubbed shoulders with a person who had a master's degree. And because there was no work in the area, he needed to save his money to pay his bills and move to an area. He was going to use the job to transfer to an area where there was a market for his degree.
I think that's a big problem too, is there's not a lot of foresight in a lot of these, and this is really no fault on the kids, maybe a little, but when they decide to do something, they have no idea what they're getting into. Like, you might sit there and be like, I want to be a psychologist. In upstate New York, how many fucking psychologist jobs can you possibly have?
Oh, you can go. Are you talking about the availability in the market or
The market, yeah.
The market. Oh my God! There's
Unless
a
you
slew
go-
of them.
unless
there's so many of them from every degree. I mean, you could have elementary school guidance counselors who have psychology majors, degrees, master's degrees, and go to the guy who you sit on his couch for $1,000 an hour every week. You know, there's a market for that everywhere in New York, but that's just it.
That's probably a bad example, because nowadays there is a major push for mental health, especially in the last 5 years or so.
But that's just it. The market is flooded. You have too many people.
So it's an opposite, all right.
You know,
but I'm thinking, like, when we were, even before went to college, when you said, "Oh, I want to be," I can't even think of it, like a general study and courses. We just get like a liberal arts degree.
Yeah, you can get a liberal arts degree. You can basically be like an English teacher, a science teacher. With a liberal arts degree, you can become a teacher in any subject.
Right.
Even though, like 10th grade science, biology, that's very specific. But here you are, you can become a biology teacher with a liberal arts degree, but now you have to pursue that education further.
Right.
So, yeah, you got a degree, and you're now a biology teacher, but you have to divulge further into that education, post-education, to be efficient enough to teach at it.
I still think that 2-year college, like the 2-year degrees, should be part of high school. It should either extend 2 years.
Guess what?
Well,
it is.
Is it now?
You remember VOTEC, where you can get a technical trade degree. My oldest just got the email last night. P-Tech is what they're calling it. A student can graduate high school with a Regents diploma along with an associate's degree in a technology field.
I think it's the way to go.
I agree. I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, I hope he really sees something in this list of all these things. And it's a big list of all these programs that are offered. I really, really hope, especially since it's going to be free through the high school, but there are requirements. You have to meet these requirements in order to be capable, eligible.
I really think that's the future. I really think that should be where kids' minds go now. I mean, this is coming from people like we're getting up there now in age. Like we're almost 40.
I know, dude.
So,
I can't wait.
like looking back, just going through life. And
You looking forward to 40?
And honestly, I care just as much as that as I did hitting 30. Everyone has like this
30
weird.
was 7 years ago. 30 was cool because it was the dirty 30, we called it.
I didn't even give a shit. Like everyone's like had mini mental breakdown. Not everybody. It was like you always hear mini mental breakdowns. Oh, maybe 30. Like I didn't fucking care. Yesterday was the same. Today was the same.
You know what? You know what it was for me, and it's gonna be the same thing being 40. I'm done being 30 something. I don't want to say 30 something anymore. I want to say 40 something.
I don't.
That's
care.
what it was. 20s into the 30s. Like, oh, I'm done saying I'm 25, 26, 27. I can't wait to say I'm 31, 32.
What's
33.
nice is that just even if you're not knowledgeable by age alone, you'd be like, oh man, he has wisdom.
Yeah. No, actually, so it's funny that you bring that up because I had a discussion with a couple of friends earlier about my experience over years, being 37, having years and years of knowledge that I've learned over the last 18. We've been best friends for 18 going on 19 years now. We are brothers for all intent and purposes.
Right.
You know, the experiences and the wisdom I can share with people who are 5, 6, 7 years long into their their relationships, their friendships with these people. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember when we were, you know, when you know each other 8, 9 years. It's like, oh, yeah, we learned a lot. You know, it's like, well, let me tell you a little something when you hit about 15 years in that friendship. This is what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, take this piece of advice. You're going to be saying in 10 years, wow, Charlie, you were right. With age comes experience and knowledge, yes. That's why we're going gray. At least I'm going gray. You want to see some gray? Look at that shit.
Nah, whatever. Like Ty.
Yeah, but I think Ty's gray hair, nothing but love, homie. Ty's gray hair comes from a lot of stupid stuff we all did.
That's probably true.
I think some of the stupid shit we did, the fact that he walked out with the gray hair was proof it happened. Because other than that, I can't prove half the stupid shit we did growing up.
That's true. Representative. Alexandria. Ocasio. Cortez. AOC. Test positive for COVID. It was like a week old now. Goes on rants like we were talking about before, constantly talking about, oh, well, you know, Florida and DeSantis and no mandates and you're killing everyone. Then vacations in said state without a mask at some drag party or something or other, hugging on everybody. Nobody's got masks. Comes back and like a week later, maybe not even, test positive for COVID. What happened? It's like I wouldn't even have known.
I just read an article. You've ever heard of that show, Sister Wives?
No. Maybe I don't know.
All right. So it's about this polygamous family. And it's still a running show. I just read an article the other night about how when the pandemic first hit and all this stuff, the mandates. So this one gentleman is married to like 4 other women. And they've got kids with all of them. He's got kids with all of them.
No, thank you.
So when the pandemic hit and all that stuff and the ball got rolling with quarantining, separating, mandating, masks, etc., the gentleman said, all right, the families can no longer associate.
Right.
You know, he'll be the one to go house to house to house to house. Him and the nanny. And there was a lot of pushback, et cetera, et cetera.
So much work.
Comes to find out, the nanny, who had the vaccine, did the mandates, the mask, always played by his rules, was the one that ended up getting COVID, and the rest of the families that were kind of like breaking the rules never got it. I read about that. It made me laugh.
Yeah. So that was a small point, but whatever. It's just, she gets it. And then I think a lot of people that just, it was just mind-boggling because, like, you know, you preach this thing, but then you go and do the opposite. Then you get sick and then probably blame unmasked and everything else. So, like, of course.
Hey, really quick, how much more do we have?
I don't know.
How many points?
58.
Holy shit.
It's just small things.
All right, we'll do a little bit more. I got to head out in like 15, 20.
Pandemic is becoming the endemic now. A lot of people are saying, this is by NBC. CNBC reported that now we're like, because we're, with the new variant being out and being so transmissible, it's just going to rocket through everybody, clearly. Just like it went to us and went to you, and it's going to everything, going through the schools.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to end up with antibodies, and it's really going to slow the spread.
So you mean
which was the idea 2 years ago?
Herd immunity is the kind of effect we're going for?
That's stupid. Fauci says there's 5 stages. This I wrote down last night. Fauci says there's 5 stages of the pandemic, and we're still in stage 1. Complete opposite of what NBC's reporting.
Yeah.
So like, this is still stage 1. We're not out of this yet. We got to go through 4 other ones. We got to go through 4 other ones.
I like 4 other ones that you hold in a joint in your hand. We gotta go through 4 more.
Fauci, I am the science.
It's COVID marijuana. It's safe. 4 more stages.
Yeah, so
Someone's
we're going to
trying
be
to-
stuck in this for the next fucking 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, well,
we haven't
we'll
even
just
left,
go- each
we haven't even
stage
left
is
stage 1.
Each stage we'll just say is 2 years, and we're still in stage 1. Maybe with this endemic
Could be a
thing
3-4
from
year stage
before.
still.
Oh god, it's a forever virus.
20-year
By
virus.
the time Pfizer release, oh no, they won't because it'll be 8 months. Who the hell knows? Fucking nobody knows. There was a study of right and left language toward minorities, and how people statistically on the left dumb down their language talking to people that are minorities, and statistically on the right people don't change their language. They talk to them like they're lower intelligence, which I thought was interesting. It's like, these are the people that are quote unquote fighting for all their rights.
Yeah, but that's what makes a good politician. Speaking a language that everyone can understand.
That's true.
And what's easier to understand than you breathe air.
But they both do that. Trump did it.
Oh yeah.
Biden does it. Like,
that was one of the best things. I used to laugh at people when they would say, "Oh, Trump's a straight shooter. He gives you a straight. He tells you how this." No, sweetie, he's just telling you in basic kindergarten language. The dog runs down.
How is that even possible? He's going underground.
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Are these racial slurs?
wait for that to happen. Yeah.
Oh, it'll happen.
The one sentence that we're taught in kindergarten that uses every letter of the of the American English language. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Going kind of alongside with language and just like how things are interpreted, I thought it was interesting that when the left says mandates work and the right says mandates don't work, right? And if you boil down the reasoning behind each one, they're different. When the left says mandates work, it's because it makes everybody adhere to getting the vaccine. Get it? And the mandates will work because it makes everybody get it, makes everybody fall in line. Where the right says, no, it doesn't work because COVID is still prevalent, even with the vaccines. Mm-hmm. So when they make the argument, they're making 2 completely different arguments, but everyone sees it falls under the mandate umbrella.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of this argument's coming from. It's like, you don't understand it works. And then the other side's like, no, it doesn't. Look. Language, interpretation.
Body language. Like if I get a boner, that means I'm uncomfortable. Not that I like you. It means that I'm uncomfortable. Don't look at it. It'll make it worse. I just came in. Hopefully the mic didn't pick that one up.
Oh, it did.
Fuck me. Bye, fuckers.